Hi, my name is Callie Chappelle, and thanks for tuning in to the Novice Go Fight Win debate series. This video is debating the politics day on the Aff and Neg answers. So, again, my name is Callie Chappelle. I'm a debater for the University of Michigan. I debated for Traverse City Central High School, and I currently coach for Gulliver Prep. I'm a 2N1A, and a fun fact about me is I hate swimming. Why is this relevant? Well, I'm actually currently recording this video on the road. I'm visiting my grandma in Florida, so if you hear any cricket sounds in the background or some people screaming around in the background, that's probably just my grandma drinking eggnog. Don't worry about it. Alright, so welcome. To make the most out of these videos, you should take notes and rewatch bits that you need re-explained. Hopefully we'll have worksheets and or supplemental materials that will go along with the video, so you should check out the video description to see if I posted that there. Next, you don't need to memorize everything, but what you should be is at least familiar with everything in the video. It's really a building process. And finally, your coach may like things differently, or you may like to debate in a different style. That's totally okay. This is just one starting point, not an end point. So let's do a DA review really quick. So I'm going to assume that we're watching this after the politics day on the Neg video, so I'm not going to review any of the actual DA. You should go back and watch that video if you have any questions. Also, make sure that you feel very comfortable with the thesis of the DA, because this video is going to cover a lot more advanced topics. So let's talk about main 1AR and 2AR AF strategies. So there are really two different strategies. There are defensive strategies and then there are offensive strategies. So the defensive strategies, you're going to want to go for two of these plus your AF, okay? So you can go for no uniqueness plus no link. You can go for your no uniqueness plus no impact. You can go for no link plus no impact. You could go for all three, but really you want to invest your time in probably just two, plus your AF is your offense. Next, you can go for an offensive strategy. So there are two different strategies that are offense. First is the link turn strategy. So that's where you go for no uniqueness plus plan popular, or the opposite of the link. This means that you solve the impact of the DA. So you don't want to make a no impact argument here, because then your plan solves the DA, but then the DA doesn't have an impact, right? So you're not solving anything. Rather, you just want to go for the plan solves the DA. That means that the impact of the DA becomes an AF advantage. The second is the impact turn strategy. So the impact turn is where you say their impact, they say their impact is bad, you say the impact is good. So for example, Middle East war good. So if the impact was Middle East war bad, you'd say Middle East war good. Another type of impact turn strategy is where you say the bill that they say is good is actually bad, right? So they might say free trade agreements are good, you say free trade agreements are bad. Plus, you need impact defense for their original 1NC impact. What does this mean? Well, we'll talk about this in a little bit. So if you can go for offense, that's a lot better, because then the DA becomes essentially a new AF advantage, right? So either you say you solve the impact of the DA through the link turn, or you say, well, yeah, we link to the DA, but they say it's bad, we actually say it's good, so it's an AF advantage. So one thing that you should definitely do, and this is a problem that I had when I was a novice and a JV debater, was I got so excited about offensive strategies, about link turning and impact turning, that I do both the link turn and the impact turn. But wait a minute, that is a double turn. Why doesn't that work? Well, the link turn strategy says that you solve the DA, but the impact turn strategy says solving the DA is bad. So if you do both of them, you just get straight back to square one, where you say the AF is bad. You just read the DA the other way. Okay, so that's pretty silly, and you definitely don't want to do that. So make sure that you're being cognizant that in the 1AR and 2AR, and in the 2AC, you're making a coherent strategy. Right? So here are the clarification things. So in the intro to DA's video, I refer to the link turn as the link turn plus no uniqueness. Talking to debaters afterwards, I thought it was a little bit confusing, so I'm going to change it from now to all subsequent videos. The link turn strategy, I'm going to now refer to what I used to call as the link turn as the link turn strategy. This is made up of the link turn, so in this case, plan popular, and then a no uniqueness argument. I think this will clarify a lot of things. So the main 1AR, 2AR AF strategies. Well, one question that I had was, well, why is it a 1AR and 2AR strategy? Why isn't a 2AC strategy as well? Well, just like in poker, you don't want to show your hand too early. You want to have a 2AC that makes a lot of arguments, so the 1AR can pick and choose which strategy is best. Don't choose your strategy in the 2AC all the way. I mean, obviously you should have the parts of the strategy there, but don't make it just that, because then you're hamstringed in to going for that strategy. If you have lots of different options, then you have lots of different options for what you want to go for when you're AF. Just like when you're Neg, you don't want to just read one off generally. You want to read many off-case positions so you can pick and choose the best ones. You want to do the same thing in the 2AC. Now, one thing is, I guess, since I kind of misspoke, is I say the 1AR can pick and choose. Well, really, the 2AR should, or the 2A should pick and choose the best arguments, and then the 1A is just the debater that executes that strategy. So how do you pick what strategy to go for in the 1AR or 2AR? Well, we can never really decide this before the debate because it really depends on what the other team does or how good their evidence is, right? So when I'm asking myself what the best strategy is, I kind of look to four main things. And obviously this is not an exclusive list. There may be other things that factor in decision, but this is what I think of. So the first is, what parts of the debate do we have the best cards in, or just better cards than the other team? The next question is, what parts of the debate have we explained the best, right? So you may have an argument that is like really good, but if you just don't explain it, then that may not be the strategy that you want to go for. So what parts of the debate have the other team not done a sufficient job answering? If they just like when you're neg and they completely drop a DA, it's a good idea to go for that DA. In the 2AC, if they just completely drop the argument winners win, then maybe you should go for that argument, even if you weren't planning on going for the link turn. Right? And then finally, what parts of the debate do I, the 2A, feel like I can explain the best in the 2AR? Obviously, there are sometimes really great arguments, but if you don't know what you're talking about and you can't articulate it well to the judge, then the judge isn't going to know either, and they're probably not going to vote on it. So you want to make sure that you're choosing arguments that you also feel comfortable extending and explaining well. 2As. You should have the 2AR strategy picked out before the 1AR, and then you should have the 1AR spend their time only extending the arguments that you want to go for. The 1AR is really time pressed, right? 5 minutes to answer 13 minutes of the block. So your 1AR is not going to have a lot of time to do a lot of fancy diddly other things. You want them to focus in on the main arguments you want to go for, and you want to make sure that you are clearly winning those arguments. Now, if your 1A is fast, you can have them extend more arguments than just only the ones that you want to go for. Like, let's say you only want to go for 2 arguments. Yeah, the 1AR can probably extend 3 to 5. But make sure that they do a good job extending the arguments that you want to go for. If they're fast, the 1A should also read more cards on the questions you want to go for. So let's say you're going for the link turn, you have to win you want to go for the link turn strategy, then you want to make sure that you're really winning the link turn and also the no uniqueness argument. To do so, you may need to read more cards on those questions, given that assumably the neg's going to be reading more cards on them in the block. That means that your 1AR is probably going to have to read more cards, which obviously trades off with them reading more arguments in the 1AR. Now, that's good because obviously if you're going to go for something in the 2AR, you want to make sure you're well set up to go for it in the 1AR, so that's why you'd want to read those cards. However, this strategy of reading cards in the 1AR is really for only fast JV and varsity debaters. Only oftentimes novices are still learning about how to speak at a very rapid pace, and they're not going to have enough time to read those cards. So let's talk about the 2AC arguments that we talked about. So the first was defensive arguments. So let's talk about 3 parts of the DA: uniqueness, link, impact. Let's start with the main Aff uniqueness argument. So the first one is really simple, right? No uniqueness. This is pretty self-explanatory. The neg says X bill's passing now. The Aff says X bill is not passing now. And then you read a card. Not that hard to understand. Ooh, wow, there's a really big, I don't know if you can hear that plane going overhead. All right. The second Aff uniqueness argument is a thumper. No, this is not like the character from Bambi. Essentially, thumpers say another thing or piece of legislation happening now is unpopular and should have triggered the link. So the thumper is a thing that thumps the DA, yeah? Okay. And the last argument is uniqueness overwhelms the link. That's the argument that if X bill is so unlikely to pass right now, even if the Aff is popular, it's not so unpopular as to prevent X bill from passing, right? So if you're so right about uniqueness, well then why does the plan matter, right? If X is so absolutely sure it's going to pass, then the Aff hypothetically shouldn't change it, right? So let's talk really quickly about thumpers a little bit more. This can be sometimes a little confusing, so let's look at some examples. So let's say the DA, the negative, says a trade agreement is passing now because Obama's pushing it with his political capital, but the plan is unpopular, which drains his political capital and prevents it from passing the trade agreement. Okay, so the thumper would be something like this. Last week, Obama made a super unpopular speech about immigration, which spent all of his political capital. This means that Obama doesn't have political capital now to push for the trade agreement, which means that the link is non-unique. Really, any current event, whether it be an unpopular bill, a speech, a scandal, etc., it can be a thumper. Ideally, you would want evidence about how it affects Obama's political capital, though. Right? So that's a little bit more information about thumpers. So how do you answer these in the negative? Well, an answer to no uniqueness would just be to put your uniqueness wall here, right? So we already discussed how to organize a politics file in the previous video when I walked through our Michigan file. So that's where you, like, you know, tilde your uniqueness block. Next is Thumpers. Well, you should have two arguments on Thumpers. First, you need to argue why Obama has political capital now. This is inferred despite the thumper. And this requires having post-dated evidence. So you want to put your PC key block or your PC high now block there, or you can just cross-apply cards from uniqueness. The second is a card or cards specific to the thumper that says that it doesn't affect Obama's political capital, or that it's not that unpopular, therefore it doesn't trigger the link. And then how do you answer uniqueness overwhelms the link? Well, you have to win two arguments again. First, you have to win that Obama's PC is there, but tenuous, on the brink, and that's something like the plan will ruin it. And then you just have to win the link, right? The plan is unpopular, so it's sufficient to trigger the DA. Alright, so let's talk about some main Aff link arguments. There are pretty much three main ones. First is no link, right? So there's going to say the plan isn't unpopular, would be perceived, doesn't affect the political sphere, etc. The next argument is the link turn part of the link turn strategy. So that's just arguments about why the plan is popular, like either it has lobbyists behind it, super PACs, certain demographics, like maybe Democrats really love the plan, but Republicans don't, and then you have to argue why Democrats are more important than Republicans for this particular bill, etc. And then the last argument is winners win. So you should review the previous video for more information if you're a little bit confused about winners win versus winners lose. But essentially, it's a link turn that says that when Obama pushes unpopular things like the plan through Congress, it makes him more popular rather than less popular, which allows him to pass a good bill or the bill the DA is about. So Neg answers. But you pretty much have to answer all of these with the exception of winners win the same way. You just have to win the link that the plan is unpopular. So you have to read more warrants or reasons why the plan's unpopular. You have to answer all of their reasons why the plan might be popular or unpopular. So for example, like I said, if they said the plan is popular because Democrats really like it, you should have a piece of evidence or some arguments why Democrats don't matter in the context of this other bill. And really, it's not that hard. You just have to make sure that you outcard them in the block, because obviously you have, 13 minutes to answer, 5 minutes, 1 AR, and answer the specifics of their arguments, right? And then how do you answer winners win? Well, there are two different answers that you should make. First is you need to win the thesis of the winners lose link, so you need to, explain it better, etc. And then you need to answer winners win, which is their card, right? So the most common Aff card in this question is this Dickinson card, and it's about Supreme Court justices. You just need to, there are carded indicts of this card that are relatively easy to find, so just poke around some camp files, and I'm sure you'll find answers to winners win. There are lots of cards out there. You can just make analytics too about why their card's terrible, because it almost certainly is. Okay, and then finally we want to talk on the defensive of main Aff impact arguments. So there are really only two that Aff makes. First is no impact, right? So this is just the Aff reading impact defense to your impact, right? So no Middle East war, no economic collapse, etc. One thing that you should make sure you do, Affs, is make sure that you don't take out your own 1AC impact. And then always say the case outweighs and turns the DA. That should always be the first words out of your mouth on any DA in the 2AC. And then the second is the impact turn strategy, which can be read two different ways, like we talked about. First is the neg impact is good. So, for example, if the neg's impact is Middle East war, you say Middle East war is good. And the second is that X bill is good, X bill they say is good is actually bad, and then impact defense to the 1NC impact. So if the neg says trade agreement is good because it solves war with Eurasia, what you'd say is the Aff is that a free trade agreement is bad because it helps the Russian economy or something like that, which is bad, and then there's no impact to a Eurasian war, right? So it's pretty self-explanatory. Oops, I don't know why I'm not going to the next slide. All right. So neg answers. So how do you answer no impact? Well, you just have to win your impact, right? So do better analysis, do better impact calc, indict their evidence, etc. Just beat the argument. And second, to answer the impact turn, you have to make two args. To answer the first impact turn, which is they say your impact is good, they say it's bad, you have to win your impact again, and then you have to answer their warrants. And then to answer the one where it's the bill is good or bad, then you have to win your internal links about why your impact is bad. You have to win impact calc, and then of course you need to read impact defense to their new impact turn scenario. So really it's just comparative impact calculus work, which we talked a lot about in the impact assessment videos. So if you're a little bit confused about how to do this successfully, or if you're still struggling with this, then I definitely recommend you check out that video or just watch some practice videos. Alright, so Aff politics theory. So there are theoretical objections to the politics DA, so I want to talk about those. But first, I want to have a quick disclaimer, right? So these theory arguments are easy and fast that the Aff can make in the 2AC. They also require a relatively long time for the neg to answer in the block, so it's smart for you to make these arguments. Just like it's smart for the Aff to make permutations, even if they're not planning on going for the permutation in the 2AC, because it takes a long time for the neg to answer. These cheap shot theory args are also really fast for the 2AC to make and hard for the neg to answer. However, you should know that these arguments are not good, right? They're not like round winning arguments. So Aff, you should only extend these arguments in the 1AR if the neg team drops them in the block. There's really, like, you're just not going to beat them on one of these arguments. So make them, but don't extend them in the 1AR unless they're dropped. Alright, so the first one is the intrinsic perm. So essentially, the neg is just saying that another bill is good and the Aff trades off with that bill, right? That's the thesis of the politics GA. But why does the Aff have to trade off? Well, the intrinsic perm says that a logical policymaker, which they say the judge is, could just pass the plan and the good bill at the same time, right? There's no reason why you can't just do a free trade agreement and also the Aff, right? So what does this mean? Well, it means there's no link, right? And it also means the DA is not triggered because the Aff essentially does the politics DA. So how do you answer this? Well, let's first think about why it's called the intrinsic perm. Because it's intrinsic. So what does intrinsic mean again? Well, thinking back to the counterplan lecture, it means the Aff adds something to the plan that isn't in their 1AC Aff plan. Does it sound like cheating? Yeah, sure it is. It absolutely is. So what does the neg say to this? Well, you need to make two args. First, that intrinsicness is bad. So you're just going to pull out your team theory block about intrinsicness. So below is kind of like what my block looked like in high school to intrinsicness, right? So you'd say, like, intrinsicness is bad. First, it's unpredictable. It can be anything. We can't prepare answers to whatever extra thing they add to the Aff, which kills clashing ground, obviously. Because if you try to solve for if the neg says the Aff team is bad for any reason, the Aff could just be like, well, we solved that with some other random thing. And then you're just like, well, gee, we can't say the neg is or the Aff is bad in any case, right? The next argument is moving target. They can modify their permutations to dodge neg offense. It's kind of a reiteration of the thing that I just explained, which kills fairness. Extra topicality, right? Their perm goes beyond the resolution. That's bad. Neg ground. They can use extra topical planks to spike DA links. Kind of that's the first two arguments. That's a voter for fairness in education, right? One thing that I do is this intrinsic block is like really long, so what I would do in high school is I just like bold the most important ones, and if I'm running low on time, I would just read the most important points. And then the second argument you want to make on intrinsicness is that politics DAs are good, right? So if the Aff could always Fiat and solve the politics DA, we would never be able to debate politics. So you would think about reasons why the politics DA is good. It teaches current events, civics, which is unique to that particular DA. This education is important, blah, blah, blah. Okay? The second Aff argument theory arg you should be familiar with is Fiat solves or shields the link. Normally, we interpret Fiat to mean the plan passes, but with all the political controversy that surrounds it, right? So the Aff would be like a bill through Congress, so someone has to propose the bill, have to vote on it, etc., blah, blah, blah. However, the argument that Fiat shields the link is that Fiat should be interpreted that the plan passes immediately, so there's no political controversy. So when the judge signs the ballot, if the judge signs the ballot Aff, then that means the plan just happened. So, like, there hasn't been this whole talk, it hasn't gone through Congress, it's just like it just happens immediately. Now, the neg answer, obviously, this interpretation of Fiat means there's no politics DA, right? Because there would be no conversation about the political ramifications of the plan under this interpretation of Fiat. So what you have to win is just the politics DA is good and that it should be in debate. So you should just pull your politics DA good block. But here are some reasons why the politics DA is good. So if you want to craft your own block, you can. First, it forces us to research current events, which is something that, not many other arguments in debate have us do. It teaches us about the current political climate, so what's popular, what's unpopular, kind of what the nuances are in Congress, etc., who the key players are. It teaches us about the implications of policy, so those of us who want to become, policy makers, Congress people, etc. It allows us to think about kind of what the ramifications of our actions would be if we proposed legislation in that arena. And finally, it is a stable generic, which is key to neg ground. So on some topics, like I don't know, the current college topic, for example, about legalization, it's really the only DA that is specific, that is generic enough to answer every single topic area. That's important because obviously when you have very biased topics, it's hard for the negative to come up with arguments that are specific to each plan. Additionally, if you go to a small school like I did, it's often very hard, like, you just don't have the manpower or the woman power, the person power to prepare specific arguments to every possible app plan, so these key generics are very important to having educational debate. Finally, I want to talk about other politics DAs. So this politics DA is called the agenda politics DA because it deals with ideas or items on the congressional agenda. But there are other types of politics DAs too, such as courts politics DAs, the midterms DA, and the elections DA for presidential elections. We won't discuss them at length now. However, you should know that the court politics DA is for AF plans that use the courts instead of Congress. And then midterms obviously happens every 4 years between the two presidential elections, and then the elections DA happens every 4 years at presidential elections. But I'm sure you'll learn about this more if you debate on a topic where that is relevant. So thank you for tuning into this video. I hope it was educational, and I hope to see you back soon. Bye-bye.